We're dusting off everything. Welcome back to Bear Down, part of the Coach Steve show after, goodness, 3-month hiatus, I think. We're dusting off everything, or at least I'm dusting off everything. But Zach's here, Bear Down. We're here podcasting once again. Again, you got to bear with me. I'm trying to remember how to do all this, but we're back.
No pun intended. Maybe pun intended with that. Yeah.
You know, I had to remember how to plug everything into the computer. I had to see if things were charged up. I had to see, I was like, this thing's been sitting here. The kids thought I was still podcasting because there was clips still going out. And I was like, guys, you don't understand. Those are old ones that AI creates for me. So I was like, I haven't touched anything.
I'm just keeping the algorithm happy. Don't worry about it.
That's all I was doing. I was just trying to play the game, but we're back. It sucked because there was a lot of Bears games. I was like, we need to talk about it, but I just couldn't make it work.
Well, life happens. You have a little one that you need to be focusing on too, and you're not focused on being a great play caller, from what I get it.
Well, so, I wouldn't say that, but the kids make it go.
Oh, don't be modest. You just spent a pre-show with me telling me all these wonderful things you accomplished this year as an offensive coordinator.
The kids did. I'll give them.
Okay, you know what? That's fair too. It's a very humble way of putting it. I like that.
Well, that's why when people complain about these NFL coaches, I kind of understand, because I can tell you right now, what I thought the offense would look like coming into the year did not look the way it was going to. We had to from week one. If you saw us week 1 into week 5 or 6, we looked completely different. Not, the main things were still there, but I can tell you this: on week 2 we had 4 run plays. Week 4 we had 2. Like, if that's kind of any inkling of like, oh, let's get rid of this, it's not working, that type of stuff. And so maybe those coaching decisions I'll take credit for, but the kids did well. But yeah, he's not even 3 months yet. It's wild. Everybody, he's little one at home, but he's healthy. That's all I can ask for.
That's awesome. Yeah.
He's like his dad. He cries when he's hungry. He eats a lot, grows. I think he's like 15 pounds now. That's my workout, is picking him up off the ground. That's my workout.
My little dumbbell.
Oh, he is. If you hold your arm for 15 minutes, you're like, okay, that's my bicep workout. That's quite enough.
Nice.
But no, yeah, it's been crazy. But yeah, we're here to finally talk about the Bears. It's been quite an up and down season. Well, record-wise, they're doing pretty well.
Yeah, record-wise, I'm with you on that. Not to interrupt you right away. I have a very nuanced discussion. I think we need a very nuanced discussion on this team, because the record definitely is great, but I'm so all over the place with how to think about how the year's going and what's ahead.
Yeah,
in my honest opinion.
Yeah, because the when you watch these games, maybe outside of the Dallas game, maybe like the roller coaster of it throughout the entire game of all that, especially the Bengals one. Like, I'm sitting there going, the Bears are going to bear this thing up, and they about did. But there are differences with this team compared to when Eberflus was around. I do give credit to that. So I think we're here to discuss the season and kind of grading Ben Johnson so far, of him being a head coach. He's been all over. He's memes now. They're like, they're like, something about when your first son is born and it just shows Ben Johnson standing there with no emotion, like stuff like that. Like he got into it with that reporter. I wish I could have hopped on and talked about it, because I was all on Ben Johnson's side, other than the reporter and stuff like that. But that's what we're going to talk about, is kind of what the season's, the way it's going, what we think is going to happen. Question marks are, is Caleb Williams the guy still? That's been still thrown around. All that good stuff. So that's what we're going to be all over the place. The Bears are what, 5-3, 4-3.
They are 5-3, and right now, they're sitting right in the thick of the NFC North, just given how the North's played out. And I'm going to just kind of kick this off with how scheduling has kind of helped with that. Because if you like, it's funny. I think Green Bay stumbled in some ways. Detroit has one of the toughest schedules in the NFL, so they have to go and fight through that mess. And we're winning games we should win on paper, which is kind of like I think the definition of the season right now is whether through a little bit of luck, a little bit of adversity, we're finding ways to win. That I can at least applaud.
Yeah, I think my first reaction to this overall team is I don't think they're giving up at all. Like they're not allowed to give up, and that kind of goes to the coaching staff. And I think you saw that with the Raiders game, to win that game 25-24, coming down to get a field goal.
Yep.
Washington, exact same score, 25-24.
Yep.
That little revenge game from last year. You didn't see any quit there. The defense coming alive versus New Orleans, but I don't think New Orleans is very good. I don't think Spencer Rattler is. I've said this about Spencer Rattler since he was on that quarterback show on Netflix or whatever it was. I said, this guy's not it. Like, he's not going to be, I'm glad he's still in the NFL and doing all that, but I just don't think he was that. And then, it was almost like Baltimore was coming back to earth a little bit. Nothing was going right. Nothing was played right. And then Cincinnati, you saw that where you give up a late score and then horrible tackling by the Bengals on that pass. And,
I'm so glad that it was Cincinnati because I've done some digging. This is one of the most atrocious defenses I have ever seen in an NFL team. Like it is
the Bengals.
It's egregious. Like it is absolutely egregious. I don't think it gets talked enough about from last week how terrible that team is, from missed tackles, from just being porous on any part of the ball. I mean,
it's awful.
Yeah, here's a great stat line. I think that's something we don't talk. I don't know why people haven't talked about this a lot. Look, the week prior they played the Jets, gave up 39, a little bit less than the Bears, of course. But do you realize both teams had their average rushing yards jump 15 yards in the span of 1 week minimum? The Bears had 20-yard jump, and this is with context that we're already midway into the season, mind you. That rush defense was so bad. They had both of those teams, the Jets being statistically one of the worst offenses in the NFL, had a 17 rushing yard average jump week over week. Like, I can't stress enough how bad that is. So I'm really glad we played Cincinnati and we won. But, like, it's so hard for me to get crazy over it because I'm like, do you know how bad the Bengals are right now?
Yeah.
And how easy it is to score on this team?
Because the Bears didn't play well the second half, like, at all. You let Joe Flacco do his thing, and he's 41 years old.
Yeah, they're so banged up on that in the defense, man. It's a skeleton crew right now. It's so bad.
Well, yeah, on top of it, like, as a Bears defense, you let them do that. And then Bears offense, you can't capitalize on how bad their defense is at tackling and doing those things in the second half. And it took some miracle pass to our rookie tight end. Yeah, I'm glad they won. It was awesome. I couldn't believe I was sitting there like, the Bears are going to lose this game. How embarrassing they're going to lose this game. And then that happened. And you're like, good, they didn't give up. Good, they were looking to score and were confident in what they were doing. Awesome. I love that. But goodness, it should have been 47-20 something.
Well, that's where I can't get too mad because I already hear someone going, well, they won. What are you getting ticked off for? It's like, no, good point. Because that goes back to the point I just started with, where it's like, if this was last year, like, I can already count 4 wins this season, maybe at least 3 minimum, that would have been a Bears loss over just silly circumstance or wouldn't have gone our way. The Raiders, the Commanders won, man. I feel like that was such a, football gods were watching us type of moment, because that was definitely not going our way at that
Oh yeah,
time.
the
Um,
the,
yeah,
the things bounced
Cincinnati,
our way.
obviously. Yeah, Cincinnati's another one of those. But that's the difference this year. They're finding ways to win. So like, it's progress. It's just interesting because I can't like. I also look at the schedule we played and who we played, and I go, no, it's good. I just, the true tests aren't coming until at least 2 weeks from, at least until 2 weeks from now. I would say Minnesota again when they get a rematch and at Minnesota. The Giants game, and don't worry, New York can still be squirrely, but they're not the same New York from a few weeks ago when they had Scadaboo, or earlier in the year when Malik Neighbors was kind of
Oh, I
doing his
love
thing.
him.
So
I love
yeah,
that guy. I'm so sad. I'm
no,
so sad
like that
he's
team is going to be fun, but they are clearly just getting through what is growing pains and injury issues. So,
right.
I'm looking ahead to, as a fan, not as the team, Minnesota, like that stretch. We get Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. That's where I think we're really going to separate the rubber from the road and really see what this team is all about. Because I mean, we have not played all year. And I'm throwing this in with the Ravens one just because, even though they've been injured, we haven't played a top 15 defense or offense all year except for Detroit. And we know how that went.
Oh,
So there are things I am waiting to see how it pans out, if progress has been made, because we've definitely been given games that are great tune-up games to get us to this 5-3 point. The real nitty-gritty's coming here, man. Like this month and moving towards the crunch time of the playoffs. It's really coming in 2 weeks. You just watch.
oh yeah, because what I'm seeing, the coaching staff is doing awesome. I
Oh
think
yeah.
the defense. I think with the defense though, we talked about it before I went on my hiatus. Of we still are missing defensive key players that we need. So they're using a lot of scheme. They have to
Mm-hmm.
scheme up things to get it done. And you saw with the Bengals, sometimes scheme doesn't work and they have to execute it. So I think on defense, they're really having to use some scheme in order to compete. And I'm curious what that's going to, and we saw that with Detroit, what when scheme doesn't work and stuff like that. Now, I would think our defense is better now than it was then.
Yeah,
Uh,
you
they're
would
getting
think.
used, the players are now, I think, more in tune with the defense a little bit. They're still figuring it out. I'm glad that people on these shows, I really haven't listened to Bears podcast. I really haven't seen too much during my hiatus a little bit as I normally do. But the stuff I have seen, I am glad that some are finally calling it out in that the defense and offense still have to learn what is expected of them from a new scheme and coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're not making excuses for the offense or anything like that, but they are saying like you have to be patient because, Caleb Williams, like last year, they went through three different people in their ears about what to do on offense, and now they have one, and they got to get used to it. So they're still figuring themselves out. So to be 5-3, I think is pretty good. I think we let that Minnesota one slip away a little bit, so there's an argument to be made there. Um, Baltimore, I think they just flat out whooped the Bears. They were,
Honestly, that's a team that got healthy, and that's an example of, like, I see a more quality opponent, and I go, I don't know if we're really there yet, And even then, I thought we could win because it was Tyler Huntley, but
right.
you watch how they as the game progressed. That first quarter, it's like we see every first quarter, and this is something I think I've been wanting to talk about with us too. The first quarter, when they scheme up the offense, usually, yeah, looks great. Bears look really solid and put together. It's always what happens once we get to the second quarter and the rest of the game. Does that offense, does this team, does Caleb Williams, does he settle down? And it's been mixed results so far through 8
Well,
games.
that's that's why I'm not always the biggest fan of head coach always calling the plays. Like I think Ben Johnson's doing fine, but I think that's a
Oh, sure.
situation. I think those are certain situations where he's involved in practice, but he has so much other things to do that when they give that title of OC to somebody and they're the ones installing, they're the ones doing this, I think they're used to it now, but I think those are situations where you feel like if Ben Johnson was just an OC and they're here, like if that makes sense, where because I think they put it together and Ben Johnson just goes out there and calls it like, hey,
Mhm.
he is involved, but I just it's working. And that was one of my biggest question marks coming in was, is it going to work with him calling plays and being the head coach? It's super hard. Very rarely, like Andy Reid can do it. Kyle Shanahan can do it. Um, how long does that last? John Gruden can do it, but most
Yep.
head coaches just kind of step back, right? Now, if they have a defensive background, they might be more involved in the defense, but they don't call it. If they're an offensive guy, they're in those meetings, but they're just kind of there to give advice. They're there to make sure everything else is working. A lot of head coaches are involved in special teams because that's make or break there. Like
Yep.
the Bears special teams wasn't good against the Bengals. You give up an opening kick return for a touchdown. Like that's not good. Uh,
Mhm.
but I think Ben Johnson's brilliant at scripting for the first couple plays. They're brilliant in the first quarter, and then it's kind of okay, what do you do now? And I think you're seeing there's some things he wants to do on offense, and they're just not there yet. Um, every time they throw a quick screen, I freak out because I'm like, I'm tired of seeing these freaking quick screens out and about. Um, but I think the offense obviously looks better. They're more creative. They're doing a lot other different things. They're finally starting to run the football. Ben Johnson wants to run the football, and Swift
Mhm.
is finally emerging. I know he was hurt last week, but he started to emerge there a little bit. The old line, like another thing people don't talk about is at the beginning of the season, they were like, well, they have this whole line. Look at the guys they brought in. And I understand quarterbacks and wide receivers have to gel, but that O line has to gel also. They have to
Mhm.
understand how to talk to each other. They have to understand how to call out a defense. They have to understand to call out their blocks and everything else. So I think the O line's starting to gel a little bit. Um, but that's the scary part so far with this team is the second, sometimes first, second quarter, they're fine. It's that second half of like adjusting and what they're going to do. And the Bengals adjusted pretty well. And I don't know if the Bears just thought they had it. I don't know. But and then the Baltimore game just was disgusting. They gave up too many moments and
Mhm.
all that stuff. And like you said, after New York, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Green Bay, like that's a bloodbath right there.
Well,
Your easiest game is Pittsburgh out of that.
I mean, you could argue it is, but even Pittsburgh just took down Indianapolis, and their defense is getting better at getting opportunistic. That was something that they were getting dogged for earlier in the year. And recent games, they've started finding ways to create more turnovers. They're second in the NFL in turnover differential, funny enough, behind Chicago right now. Which Chicago has been getting that added on. I mean, I will say having a stretch where you have 3 straight games where you have 9 turnovers defensively and none on your offensive side, I certainly think helps. But it's been a good stat to see. And again, they're learning the whole phrase of they're learning to win. You know what? I'll add on to it because that, in theory, if that's the case, that should help battle test to get you ready for what comes ahead. Because
Right.
we always hear from, I don't mean to say Bears media in the way this is, but that is kind of this, it's been the norm the last few years, especially with Matt Eberflus and like some of the earlier season, like coaching passes. They're trying to learn to win. We got to learn to what it feels like to win on a consistent level. And it's like, all right, well, you know what? We are learning to win now. It's been interesting. There's been some games I would say, thank God for certain things turning out the way they did. Uh, Now, that's where I think that turns into you learn in November, December who you really are. Like I said, the Bears have been very fortunate to have taken advantage of a very favorable schedule to this point. So, what do you do when the teeth of your division matchups and powerhouses like a Philadelphia come to town? What is your answer? I mean, I'll go over the schedule real quick again. Once we get past the Giants, yeah, I mean, you're only really, I feel like gimme game possibly would be Cleveland, and that's not until mid-December. Otherwise, they're going to have a hope, you would think, in theory, a healthier San Francisco. You don't know how close the division is going to be at the end of the year, so you're going to have one more matchup against Detroit, where in theory they're going to be fighting for a playoff spot, likely, given how the NFC North's turned into. 2 matchups against Green Bay, which, we split last year, but I get nervous playing Green Bay still. I got to be honest with you, that's still a really good football team.
Right.
Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Minnesota in 2 weeks, who, while hasn't been the greatest team, JJ McCarthy looks solid, and they beat Detroit in Detroit. So they clearly can go in and get wins against divisional opponents. So we're going to learn really quick if this was a pretender or contender, because that's the type of season we're in right now. I mean, you've seen it, and I'll leave you to this. We just watched last night Denver win 10-7 against the Raiders. There's a lot of people that feel like that's a pretender team at 8-2, because outside of a solid win here or there, specifically against the Eagles in Philadelphia, it's been a lot of patty cake wins in terms of like who your opponents have been, and they haven't looked great.
Right.
So, that's where record does. It's great when you get wins. It's hard to win in the NFL, but we don't seem to talk a lot about the context anymore with this stuff. So, that's where I'm at.
Because I'm glad you said it, because Dan Campbell's that guy. If you watch every single time they win, one of the first things he says is it's hard to get a win in the NFL. He doesn't care. He doesn't care what the record is. He doesn't care, and that's why the Lions are who they are, because they appreciate it. And I'm watching the locker room with Ben Johnson. It's the same. He talks about, he stacks the wins and says, that's how you win. That's how you figure out how to win, and no matter what. And Ben Johnson still will sit here and say they haven't played perfect football. He's like, there's still learning curves here. There's still things to get done. But the fact that, and I know, and we can sit here and say, like, look at these teams they're beating. They don't have winning records or whatever it is. But they you want to enjoy it because those still are NFL players. Those are still guys you're going against. But I mean, you beat Washington. That was a playoff team last year. So you kind of take that with a grain of salt of like, is that a good win? Is that not a good win? But that's pretty much it. Like, the Raiders are trying to figure out who they are with a new head coach. Dallas is in a, down world. They're whatever. They're either really, really good or they're like that.
Right.
New Orleans has been bad. Cincinnati without Joe Burrow.
Well, I mean, even we don't even mention the context, like, as well. And again, this doesn't get talked. That's a defense also that was missing some key components. We didn't have to face Trey Hendrickson either. He was battered and bruised out, so no worries about pressure. Which a week ago, that was the big story, was the Bears couldn't handle the pressure that the Ravens defense brought. And I know I don't think Trey Hendrickson changes everything, but the fact that you watch that game against Chicago, they held up their end of the bargain. Well, what if Trey Hendrickson's there? I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. It's not been perfect on the outside edge all year. So they're still trying to figure out who the hell is the ideal guy opposite side of Darnell Wright, for God's sake.
Right.
So,
right.
I don't know. These are things I think about. I hate doing this because it's just, I have trust issues with how I view Bears football anymore. But, it's still good to be 5-3 at the end of the day. Right.
It is.
It's nice to have a winning record midway through the year and say, okay, if we are turning a corner and we start doing that in the back end, the second stretch of this season, then yeah, we can start talking about a playoff game, which is kind of nice for a change, to be like, we might be a wild card team. Or if you want to get super optimistic, we're right in the thick of the NFC North, which I still am not bought that will win the North, but we're right there. It's worth something.
Yeah, because there's both sides to it. Your side obviously makes a lot of sense. Like, okay, you're 5-3, but who have you beaten, and those type of things. And especially when you look at the schedule, is it battle testing you for Minnesota, Philadelphia, Green Bay within a 3-week period? You play
two of those 3 weeks in a row are Green Bay, for God's sake. So
yeah, December 7th and December 20th. Like, is it going to battle test you? Is it if the players get too comfortable? Like, hey, we are 5-3. Look what we've done. Look where we came from last year. It took Ben Johnson way, 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 way less time to get to 5 wins than it did Eberflus and stuff like that. So all that comes into play. But again, it comes down to, we are still missing pieces that they need. We're still missing like a dominant interior defensive lineman. We're still missing like a dominant linebacker. Like if we had Roquan Smith, for years ago, he would be that dominant linebacker. The health of our secondary, starts to come into play. On offense, I think we have offensive weapons. The O-line's starting to get a little bit banged up, just a hair.
Mhm.
And the biggest thing is on Caleb Williams. And when I watch Caleb Williams, it's kind of like we're talking about Justin Fields all over again to an extent. And what I mean by that is you see like great throws, you see him do something, but he's still like he gets rid of the ball quick. But there's
Mhm.
times where he's giving it to like the check down when you see somebody else is open, because I still think he's afraid to like throw picks. I think he's afraid to make a mistake. And then he holds on to the ball too long still at times. So it's either he gets rid of it too quickly or he holds on to it too long. And it has that debate again of, well, the O line is letting pressure get on him. But if you watch, there are those times where he is holding on to the ball too long, and Ben Johnson is frustrated. It shows him, like they'll show his face of like, look, this guy's wide open and we're trying to make a big play and he's not getting there.
Mhm. Oh
And
yeah.
so it comes down to like there's a thing saying he's like dyslexic and he has to learn a certain
Oh
way,
God.
like stuff like that. It all came out. I can't remember when it came out.
That was
That's
that
why
Tyler Dunn article, which a lot of people lost their mind over that really bad.
like he's dyslexic or something. And then there was something one of the people at school told me. They're like, did you see Caleb Williams? And I'm like, yeah, he played okay. Like, no, did you see him? I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Did I see him? And they're like, his fingernails were a certain color. Then he goes in at halftime and comes back out. They're a different color.
Oh, well.
So they're like, what's he doing at halftime? Is he sitting there painting? Is he really locked in and all this stuff? So all this stuff is starting to, you know, that's why I believe in that's why I like Peyton Manning's and Tom Brady's, because they keep their mouth shut and they have their family members keep their mouth shut because they know that this stuff will pile on top of you. And that was before all the social media was huge. Like, you got to keep your mouth shut and tell your dads and the moms to keep your mouth shut, because now we're over analyzing it. I look at it from a coach perspective, but like now everybody's piling on top. So like he's got to keep his mouth shut. His dad's got to keep his mouth shut.
Mhm.
Like if I was Caleb Williams, I'd look at my dad and be like, shut up. Like I don't need this. Like, I'm glad you're there for me. I'm glad you want what's best for me, but like, shut up.
Well, it's funny. That's not even the dad that's really in the news right now. You see, Romo Dunze's dad.
His
He's
dad
trying
too.
to spark up receiver drama. Feels like make Rome into a AJ Brown. My son should be seeing 10 targets a game. It's like, well,
Did you see how many drops he had against the Bengals?
now that's the thing that's becoming an issue more, is he's been getting some dropsies here or there in games, but he's still Caleb's favorite target most weeks. I should say though, it's fascinating that is the case, because I mean, he has been the leading receiver. Caleb does like targeting him. It's
He
interesting
does.
because
He does.
Ben Johnson's philosophy is not really about singling out a receiver. It's about distribution of the football, which up until this past week really had been the Romo Dunze show and friends. Because I mean, DJ Moore's kind of been there, but this hasn't been the DJ Moore led receiving core that we've been expecting. It's Rome's team now for that in
Right.
that section. So,
Which, if anybody would be mad, it should be DJ Moore. Like, why is this second year player getting more looks? But like you said, Ben Johnson, I think once in a while he is going to dial up something that says, hey, we're looking at this player, right? Like in certain situations. But if you do look at his offense, and then even what he did at Detroit, he wants other people to touch the football.
yes.
Like, he puts DJ Moore in the backfield as running back. He gets him a short pass. There's just different ways. He's looking for tight ends to get the ball. Speaking of tight ends, I didn't know Cole Kmet was still on the team.
Well, I mean, it's what happens when injury knocks you out, and you're kind of forcing now. It feels like almost, I say forcing, but kind of feels like Loveland was forced to finally be the spotlight. Like they're really trying hard to not move on from Cole Kmet. But I mean, come on, man. You drafted this guy top 10 in your draft this past year. Feel like it's time to start focusing him and start maybe reprioritizing for what might be better, and we can talk about, one catch for 54 that led to the 118-yard stat line, but, seems like he's going to be the future anyway. I don't know if Cole, I don't know what Cole's future in Chicago looks like past this year is what my question is with that. It's hard to tell.
It goes back to the stuff I don't know whether it was true or not in the offseason. Remember the report of like Ben Johnson yelling at Cole Kmet or something and saying like, stop your podcast. You're too worried about this. You're not worried about football. And I'm not saying that's what happened, but you start now to see this, and it's like, because no other tight end really challenged him for those spots, right? Well, now you have this guy from Michigan who played in a similar offense of this pro style, who is now getting more reps and is involved and had the game-winning catch, right?
Yeah.
And Cole Kmet's known for drops. He's known for not blocking all the time. He is an Illinois kid, like went to a Catholic school here in Illinois. So I think that's a part of it. But yeah, I think this is the nice way of saying, hey, step up or you're out.
Well, and here's my thing too. Like I'm double checking his contract, which he does while it's originally going through 2028 or 2028. There is an out for next year. Like that's the thing. This is very much posturing. And you look how the offense runs with Ben Johnson. I know we all want to see that these two high profile tight ends to make it more chaotic in the passing game and, open up more opportunities, but it's just the Bears offense does not work well with two tight ends that are both fighting for reps. You need to pick, you have to get one guy that you highlight and then get a blocking tight end that can go out there and I think seal out edges or seal gaps for people, which honestly, and I know it's the Bengals again, I have to stress this, but that was one of Loveland's better games as a blocking tight end that I've seen so far. And actually he started to build a few highlights with some solid blocking when he's been out there. So kind of feels like you should start transitioning to the guy that can do more. Right. That you drafted top 10, Like it feels like this is the perfect time to make that transition. You can still feature Cole. I think you should, but I feel like, with what lies ahead contractually, with who you picked up and what that means for your salary cap situation, which now you got to figure that out because you're not going to be top 10 next year in salary cap. You're going to be towards the bottom of the league. Might be time to start focusing more on the guy that's going to be your future.
Right. And I
would say
I would have to look. Yeah. He has 25 targets and caught 17 of them. Cole Kmet's been targeted 21 times and caught 10 of them. So like he's, I know Cole Kmet hasn't played in the game. He's been a little bit injured, but kid already has two tight ends. His longest one was 58 yards. I think it was the Bengals game. He's averaging 33 yards. Yeah, you may have to start. I think they were slow to transition him because they were like, Cole Kmet, you're the veteran. It's your thing. But this rookie's right behind you. And he had the knee thing too, so I think they were easing it in a little bit. Like you said, now
you can't go any level of discussion without the prevailing injury going into the year. So I'm glad you brought that up too.
Yeah, but you're about halfway through the season here. You got to, and you're 5-3. You are in the middle of the pack there for the NFC North, and it's a bloodbath in the NFC North, and it's a battle. So you are now in that situation where, okay, this kid's young. He's doing exactly what Cole does, maybe better. We don't have to pay him as much money for the next 2 or 3 years. It's time. It might be like he'll still do 2 tight end sets and have both of them out there and stuff like that. But
of course,
yeah, I think you're going to see more of Colston and that not quite starting role, but like out of all the reps, if there's 60 plays, he's going to get maybe 30 of them. 40 of them. Like,
he should be your feature guy going forward. And there's a lot of reasons for that either performance or I think capital should say or dictate a little bit. Performance first, though. And he has started like I said, this Cincinnati game was a great sign. He's had some solid blocking moving in the last several weeks when he's been out there on certain packages, and for what Ben's asking for, your tight ends are expected to do, like, good tight ends to me can do everything. They're supposed to be the perfect hybrid of what a lineman can be, and they can pass catch. That's what some of the best do, and I think that is something I'm looking for more and more, especially with Ben Johnson asking more of his players, I feel like, than say Matt Eberflus ever did, or, maybe even in Matt Nagy. Yeah, he fits the bill. He fits the culture a bit better to me,
Right.
in
Because
terms of what you do, what you want on field. That's not to say Cole Kmet off field. This isn't speaking on off field or whatever stuff. I'm just talking on field. I see more of what Ben Johnson preaches from Colston Loveland when he's healthy than I do from Cole Kmet. And
right.
that's kind of crazy, given Cole Kmet was given a pretty decent contract for being looked at as one of the better tight end options in the NFL. And they just don't use him. He just is not used in that way,
No.
And now Loveland is starting to, but like even then we were complaining he wasn't being used either. So pick one,
Right. Because I always wonder if Cole Kmet played better because he knew it was a contract type of year and he wanted the money, and now that he's got, like, I'm not saying this is what happens, but you always think that, like, players do better when they know they're playing for a contract. And then when they get it, it's okay. Are you going to continue to play that way, or do you coast it out a little bit? Like, I'm going to coast through this a little bit. And again, I don't think anybody was really pushing him. Now you have somebody pushing you. And I'm not saying Cole Kmet's bad, right?
No.
It's not consistent enough. And we've
very,
said that.
It's very, very ebb and flow. It's spotty at times. You'll have a really solid game, and then he'll disappear for 3 weeks.
Right. But like you said, Ben Johnson, it depends on the team you're playing. Like we saw, was it Laporta with the Lions? Like, he'll use tight ends, but I think it depends on what type of defense you're seeing. If it's an odd man front, you're going to see more of a tight end presence. If they're playing an even man front, you don't see as much tight end presence. You see more split out, because when you have with that odd man front, you want to add another gap that they have to protect and put that tight end in there more. If it's a 4-man front, you can still attach him, but they have enough guys to cover the gaps. You're not really messing with their defense as much, and that's just coming from me coaching high school, where we see a lot of 3-3, 3-4, and I have to play a tight end a lot more if I want to run the ball. But you also have to be able to go out and catch and run routes good. And that was and Cole Kmet, it was like, okay, he was dropping passes and he finally started to figure that out. Then it was blocking in space. He started to figure that out. And then it just kind of never didn't go up to the next level. And if this guy's hungry enough, he's going to do it. So you start transitioning to the young guy to start to mesh with your young quarterback with a fresh play caller in there, And again, I don't think Ben Johnson cares about their feelings either. He's like, I'm in this business to win, and I'm here to compete. So it's kind of like Cole Kmet, eat what's on the plate or get out of the kitchen or get out of the dining room type of thing.
Well, if you're coming from the Dan Campbell school of coaching, it's about the team first. It is always about the unit and what is best for the unit as a whole. So yeah, I'm with them. It's going to, tight end wise, I think you stick with Colston, keep letting him get developed and grow. It feels like more and more, I think Caleb at least seems to get more comfortable with them. So I'm hoping that's the case, and feature him right now to me.
Right.
Let Cole either get healthy or just, realize that Colston seems to be the more versatile option, so stick with that. What do I got? What else we got to say here? Speaking of personnel. So what do you think here? Kyle Monangai, the feature back moving forward, or a man of circumstance with the opponent that we just played? What are your thoughts?
I think it's both. I think he looked good because it was the Bengals and they don't tackle well. But it's like you're supposed to do that against that team, if that makes sense. Like, this is how
I agree with that. Yeah.
But a game like that helps with confidence as well, of like, hey, I can do this. And so I dare to say, is it going to be a 1-2 punch with him and Swift, right? Because one of criticisms I had of Swift was he's a zone running back. He's a guy that bounces it, has some speed.
Mhm.
This year, and I think maybe that's why he's banged up, he's showing that he's going to run downhill because I think Ben Johnson and company have instilled that and said, if you're going to play running back for us and we're paying you this money, you are running downhill.
I want to say
And
too, I think he bulked up. He looks like
he
he
did.
really added muscle in the offseason, you
Well,
know?
he heard the criticisms too. Like he's not immune to it. He heard it.
Mhm.
And I don't think he has much argument. He did not play well last year. I don't care about blocking and everything like that. He did not play
Mhm.
well. But Manungai, he has 362 yards and Swift has 464. So they're using both. And I think that just helps with confidence. And it's kind of that Swift is fast, but if he bulked up and is a little bit more downhill, Manungai is a little bit shifty. So I think
Mhm.
having both the 1-2 punch here of different types of running backs you have, having confidence of like, hey, you just saw what you could do when you play the Bengals. With the Bengals, 176 rush yards. Like, look what you can do. Now I know the Bengals don't tackle well and all that stuff, but it's like, hey, you just showed what you can do. Now you just got to keep doing it. But I think you're going to see more of him, especially if Swift is banged up a little bit. They're gonna have to use him a little bit more,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I'm gonna have to. And I'll be frank, I mean, DeAndre's had a great year. Their focus back on the run game again has been working, and it's been allowing for drives to stay on schedule for the most part. So, that's what, and this is kind of, how do I put this? It's funny. This to me goes back to kind of the last 2 years of the Matt Nagy era that we watched, where, Matt wants to run his offense, but they realize, okay, we can't really execute with the personnel we have. So let's just pound the rock and see what we get. It's not always pretty, but it opens things up if you're on schedule.
Right.
You get that, you get that 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4 more consistently, or you pop off and you get 1 or 2 runs that are 10, 15 yards, or you break the big one, which, they've mostly been able to stay on schedule, and it's helped a lot, I think, to allow Caleb to say, okay, I don't have to feel like I have to play hero ball, which he's continuing to, but needs to keep getting better at saying, I don't have to play the hero every play. I just need to find my open man and let my players do the work, which has been starting to reap some rewards. So that's good. And look, now that we have a guy like Manungai, you can switch up. Both of them kind of pound the rock a little bit. I would argue that Swift is a little more shiftier, but they're both versatile in the fact that they can catch and they can do what they need to do in packages that are very interchangeable. So, you can keep them both fresh. It's not like you're sacrificing some elements of who the player is. Like, say, if you're putting like a Roshan Johnson in, Roshan's
Oh
not
yeah.
going to be that pass catcher. Both if none guys in the backfield or Swift's in the backfield, you don't know what you're going to get because both of them can run and execute packages that are very similar for each other. You're just getting one that's, I think, a little bit shiftier in DeAndre Swift compared to, say, Manungai. But I'll tell you, though, 7th round pick for Kyle Manungai, and you're getting an RB2 right now. You got to love it. I love the dude coming out of Rutgers, by the way. And I work, as you know, I work for the company that helps produce Big Ten. So we get a lot of Rutgers games. He's living up to everything I thought he would be. I loved the pick then, and it's only gotten better since the season started. So, really great late round pickup. I got to give Poles credit for seeing the vision.
Did you just give Ryan Poles credit?
Ryan Poles, man, once every full moon, he finds a guy. And some people are like, no, he finds more often than not. It's like, no. Once every so often, he'll find a dude.
Hey, they drafted Manungai. They drafted Colston Loveland.
Romo Dunze, he gets that one as well. And that was a later round too. But like, that's the thing. Early rounds, first round, usually he whiffs.
Well,
he's the mid to late round king. Well, not king. He's the mid to late round connoisseur.
Well, let's give Colston to Ben Johnson. He probably said, I want this dude and you're getting him. And
no, for now, it's getting there. But let's keep building. Let's build that up a little more. I give praise. Last few weeks, it's been good blocking. He had a good game against Cincinnati, but let's keep going.
Well,
I'm gonna wait a little longer before I give that one fully. So
Well,
You
the
know,
free agent stuff too, I kind of give them credit. Like the O line is blocking better. They are
well, and I'll give credit while also admitting, as we talked at the beginning of the year, why wasn't this done 2 years
well.
ago? You
That's
know,
about
like don't mean to be that guy, but this is where we get into context. Like, you sat on bad O lines for several years. Why are you now investing in that spot?
I was going to
You
get at
know,
that. Like they're blocking well and stuff like that. It just kind of is weird that an O lineman as a general manager.
at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because either way, we're stuck with him for several years. So, I got to live with that. But hey, progress.
Progress.
Some good
Hey,
things, coming down from the Ryan Poles pipeline. What do you know? It's
yeah,
nice.
it only took a few years.
Yeah, it took a few
Uh,
years, several misses in trades, and and a lot of draft picks. But hey, things are looking up.
they are looking up. They are looking up. So, what do we think of Ben Johnson so far with taking over? A Matt Eberflus team, first year head coach. He's getting paid a lot of money. Um, I, from watching him coach, his after the game stuff, how he handles the media, stuff like that. What are
Mm-hmm.
we giving Ben Johnson a grade of
Ooh,
what we think he's doing?
um, I'm a B.
I was leaning towards like the B range. I want to give him an A just because of where we were and where we are now,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to wait and see what he does, what happens in that
I will give them an
stretch.
A if the adversity and headaches from this start of the year with some of the wins turns into winning against more quality opponents that we're going to have to face down the road. If we get a playoff berth, it's instantly an A. Like I
Right.
have there's no way I can reward anything lower than an A if we make the playoffs. If we win the division, it's an A plus because that's the fact that you go worst to first. If you were even in that realm, which they are right now, I just don't fully buy in that they're going to win it, but they are in that conversation midway through
Right.
the year. So it's a B. I got to give them a B. They've gotten a winning record. They found ways to win. There's still some ugliness there they need to work out. And he's had some boneheaded moves on the sideline as a coach, as a play caller, which, he's luckily gotten wins that have avoided some of those instances of boneheadedness, but, it's made it work. He's definitely better than Matt Eberflus, much more decisive than Matt Eberflus. You got to give credit where credit's due there.
Right. Because I think you and I said at the beginning, before the season started, he is going to have some bumps as a head coach. You learn things as a head coach, no matter. He could talk to John Gruden every day, and John Gruden can tell him what's about to happen. It's one thing to be told; it's another to be put into those situations,
Yeah.
and the fact that he's calling plays. So, on top of during a game being a head coach to make sure that everything is going the way it should be, he's also trying to call plays and score points. That's
Oh
kind
yeah.
of his thing. I give him like a B plus, and the reason why is because they are 5-3.
Yep.
He is not allowing them to quit. It's a different feel with the team, even no matter what the opponent's records are or anything like that. I think also I have to give him props for like the coaching staff because I think Dennis Allen as a DC scheming up what he's doing, how Swift is becoming better, and the fact that he doesn't really go over to the defense. He lets them do their thing. When offense
Oh,
comes up
without a
the
doubt.
field,
Mhm.
he's not going over there. Like he's like, you do your thing. Even on offense, you notice that like on offense, he does not go over there.
No.
He's telling the coaches on the headset, like, this is what's happening. Fix it. Fix it right now. And he's letting them do that. And I think it's empowering them and they are doing their job. I'm not saying he never talks to Caleb Williams. I'm not saying he's never talking, but he's also all business. Like they show the game-winning field goals, and there's like no emotion. He's a person that's kind of like we're supposed to do this, right? Like like this is
Yep.
he's all like cool, cool. You made the game-winning catch, and I'm sure he was pumped up. I'm sure right after he's like, "You're an NFL player. Like this is the moment. Like you're supposed to do these things. It's all business, And I think the players are starting to feel that a little bit of like, and that's how Dan Campbell is. Like Dan Campbell, I think shows more emotion on the sideline, because he was a former NFL player and he understands it. But Dan Campbell's kind of the same way of like, just keep grinding out, do what you're supposed to do. And then the moment it's over, what's the next moment, right? Like, you can't live in that moment. I think that's what Ben Johnson's doing. I think that's why his emotions are the way they are, because he's super ultra competitive. And I think he understands that there is some talent on this team and they're supposed to do this. And he's very fiery, like during the game. When you talk to him, you could just hear it in his voice. And the Bears players, I think, are, well, what was it, preseason, where they're like, we have to be more disciplined in practice. Like, they're doing this stuff. So
Mhm.
that makes you wonder, did Matt Eberflus let things go? And these players are so used to it. And Ben Johnson's like, no, 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 no. That's not how you do things. This is not how it goes. And so, like I said, everything is getting figured out right now. And if they can make the playoffs and get a couple more pieces and they continue in that direction, then the following year, big things should start to happen. And but also Ben Johnson's not put up with anything at all. I wish he was the head coach when what's his face waved at the Commanders crowd last year. I wish he was the head coach, because I don't think that guy'd be on the team anymore. I don't think he'd be around. So that's why I'm giving him a B plus right now. I think they could have beat Minnesota. The fact that you got blown out by your former team in Detroit,
Mhm.
that if they beat the Baltimore Ravens, maybe you're looking at an A minus, but that was a step back a little
Well,
bit.
I look at the Baltimore game as one where I viewed that as a winnable game, because if all the stuff you have gone through to that point of improving and saying we're different than last year, and you come in, and I know Tyler Huntley's run this offense before. I've heard everything about that. Well, you should have never expected Tyler Huntley to be a slouch. I'm like, yes, but Tyler Huntley's no Lamar Jackson. And I felt like there were opportunities to be had, and it wasn't there. Now, this is where I leave. And like we said, this kind of is a perfect tie into the B ranking here. You go in and you show those improvements from the season have all accumulated to a team that is now more battle tested and ready to take on the next challenges in what is a very ghastly end of season or second half of the year schedule. Then yeah, we're definitely talking different. So
Mhm.
I like what I'm seeing so far. I think we're seeing a lot of stuff that's more focused now. And I'll be honest, I get behind a guy like Ben Johnson that goes, hey, great, we got that win. And this from me. I've
Mhm.
said this enough about us playing and following this team over the last few years. Great, we got to win. That's not the final mission though. Like
Mhm.
there's a grander end goal that to be focused on. And while you should celebrate the wins when you get them, don't linger on that as the end all be all. I like that attitude he presents to himself. And I,
Right,
I think I think he's also still learning to be a head coach and what all comes
right,
with that. And when I say that, I'm talking a bit on the field stuff, but also the off the field commitments. You can tell he's not a fan of the PR fluff piece type of stuff you have to do, you
right.
know? Um, and I'll be frank, when you brought up the Raiders sideline reporter piece, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was one of those people that was going, yeah, it was a dumb question, but you're an NFL head coach. Do you not expect to answer dumb questions half of your
Yeah,
time messing with the media? Like, you're being paid $13 million. You're one of the top 10 most highest paid coaches in the NFL. You should expect to answer dumb questions.
yeah,
It's going to come up. That's the sad part of the job. You're not going to avoid dumb media people. So that
yeah.
was my whole thing is he's a big boy. He can handle it. He's getting paid really well to be answering dumb questions.
Well,
So,
he said that. He was like, "I could have handled that better." But I saw both sides of it, but I
mhm.
kinda lean towards Ben Johnson. I would have done the same thing of I think he probably expects dumb questions at the podium. I don't
Well,
think he
yeah, I think when you have the heat of the moment, you're watching that Raiders game and going, God, we started out so much better than we could have, and we're still looking like hot trash during that first half. You
right.
know,
He's been better since then, right? Like, he's learning. Like, he's had the dumb questions, so now I think he's like, "Oh, I was expecting dumb questions at the podium. I wasn't
yeah,
expecting such a dumb question while I'm in the heat of the moment of a game and I'm trying to be competitive."
Oh
And
yeah.
so people like went right after Ben Johnson. And I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. Have you ever, I've been coaching for 16 years. I don't get asked questions at halftime. If it's a tight game and somebody asks me a question at halftime, I would say something stupid, especially if it was a dumb question like that. Like, oh, you should change something. And he's like, like, he was probably expecting to get asked, like, what are you going to change?
Mhm.
Or like, if he says we're fine and the reporter says something like, I don't even know how you respond to that. And so I understand the reporter side of it for sure. I understand that he probably should have taken a deep breath and just kind of gave a one word answer like we'll be fine. Like, but when you're competitive and you're in the NFL and it's there and you're so locked in, you see like red and you don't even he probably didn't even realize what he did until he can't got off out and saw his phone. He was probably like, "Oh, shoot." But then we just had that same reporter I think this week and he was much better. Like you said, he's still learning. Um, he was probably never asked a question at halftime before, and
Mhm.
so up until this year. So I don't know. I'm kind of on Ben Johnson's side. He could have done a lot worse.
I would
So
say it's a dumb question. Like I've been wanting to talk about this with you since we've been away. It was a dumb question. I just it's hard for me as a person that like I look at how much a man like that's getting paid to go I can't really be I can't fully get there where I'm like you're getting paid 13 million a year, man. Like you're going to have this stuff come up is my only thing. So
yeah, I see.
because the question was the question and the way it was phrased was dumb. I just can't fully go like, oh, I will defend the coach getting paid $13 million a year for being aggressive towards someone that he's expected to talk to as part of his job description.
Yeah, that
You
part
know,
makes sense. That part 100% makes sense. But I think I also look at just like the human being side of it for that split moment.
that's fair.
And like I said, people got really mad about him. Like he could have said a lot worse.
Oh, he
So
definitely
like,
could have said much worse. I
so
mean,
like,
just him getting snippy got that much of a pop on Twitter. So that I can only imagine what would happen if the man's like, get out of my face, you know.
yeah, or like start cursing at her. Like things
Whoa.
could have gone a lot worse. The thing that bothered me, and I don't want to get any sort of political on this, it became like he only did that because she was a woman, and all that
Oh
stuff started
well,
to come
no.
out.
No.
And I'm like, no, I don't think that's what it was at all. You know what I mean? Like, there's a ton of great female reporters that do an amazing job, and she's one of them. Like, she's usually pretty good, and she just had a one mistake, which is fine. Ben Johnson then made a mistake. Ben Johnson came out and said, "I should have handled that better. I apologize." Like he didn't really apologize because I don't think is going to be that person that's like, "I was 100% wrong." No, he was just
Mhm.
like, "I could have phrased that better." And I hate. I personally don't like the halftime talking to the coach going. I don't really like the halftime talking to the coach coming out
Mhm.
because they have a job to do, right? Like I don't know. I really don't like it. I don't mind the before the game stuff. I don't mind right after the game stuff. It's those little moments where I don't know. I was leaning more towards Ben Johnson's side. Like, okay, I get it. Because I remember watching it and I was like, I was dumbfounded. I was like, did she really just say that?
Yeah, I mean, it was pointed. It was very specifically pointed. And that's the one like that's the other side of the coin where I'm like, I get it, you know, because even she later came out and was like, yeah, should have phrased it a bit better. So, you
Well,
know,
that's all you can
if you're
do. So
playing,
when people,
mhm.
that's all you can do. So when people got super mad, I'm like, give both a chance here to clarify what happened, what
But
should have been said. You know what
and
I mean?
I wish that was more often the case, but we live in a media world where it's in the moment and I said this to someone the other day. People don't care about the context anymore. They don't care about what the extra details of it or following up. It's about putting that out there, getting the click reaction and moving on. You know, if you care to follow up, that's what they can do. But is the person that talks about immediately, like say like, and I'm bringing these examples up because like like the ML footballs of the world, where it's like, post this out, move on out down the road, find something else to talk about, or now. And I've been waiting to talk to you about this because I've seen this in a lot of accounts that are Bears accounts or other team accounts. You notice how Kalshi or FanDuels or Polymarket are getting these partnership accounts now? Like they're partnering with these people.
Oh no.
If you ever look at, so I want you to go after this show and look up some accounts like say like DWC, like the one that makes the highlights, or there's another dude that's Dave like BFR or whatever. These guys are getting paid by like Kalshi or Polymarket or FanDuel. And the reason why they're doing it is because those companies want those accounts to get clicks. How do you get clicks? Create an echo chamber. Create posts that push people to like your stuff. If it's pro Bears stuff and you're a Bears account, you're going to get more clicks. I know this because as you know, I talk about UFL. My UFL posts on Twitter get more likes and clicks than my NFL stuff, or when I talk racing, when I talk television. These people are getting paid to peddle stuff. People don't realize that, but I look at an account, and if I see a Kalshi logo on there next to the name, I'm instantly going, nope, I know exactly what this is all about anymore. This is all about engagement farming. So,
Well,
but it's the world we live in. It's the world we live in, though, Steve. That's the sad part of it.
Well, they can pay us to do it, and we'll do it. Hint, hint.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I have a price.
Yeah.
You pay off my house, I'll post whatever you want.
Knowing me, though, I would probably screw it up for all of us because I can't honestly just drink the Kool-Aid every day.
Oh, if the price was right, I'll drink the Kool-Aid.
Well, I'll hang on for dear life, and as long as they tolerate me, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's how far removed I am.
No, I'm just this is something I've noticed this year is more and more you're seeing these like betting and gambling accounts or companies coming in, and they'll give them partnerships. And part of the deal is they have to label it on their Twitter account. And then they have to, they're signing on because they are enough influence in that section of a sports community to where they're getting them to help with that. And then I noticed that this week, Kalshi posted out one, and I know I'm sounding conspiracy theorist a little bit, but this account posted out, what is your favorite football moment? And sure enough, funny how this works. They had every one of those accounts quote tweeted. Why do you think that happened, Steve? Because it was a deal. They have to do that. It's part of the deal. They have to signal boost the company that's paying them. So it's a little harder for me to follow Bears football when I know who's paying you off to do stuff like this. So just saying. And this is every other team in the NFL is doing this, but there are very obvious accounts now that are displaying it because it's part of the deals they made. So
I just learned something today.
Oh yeah. There you go. Like
again,
yeah.
I've been when I like normally I come on here, I'm like, did you see this post, this post, this post, this post? I am so far removed. Not even on purpose.
You'll just next time when you're looking, not every account, and some people, that's just generally how they are, I think. And maybe it's not always that. You get a good deal, you made a following, I got to reward that. But you can't tell me when you are being paid by a company for you being an account that engages with Bears fans and gets them to rally to your postings that you're not going to post one or two things that maybe you'll favor getting a positive reaction for a few more clicks.
Right.
It's I'm a little, I can't jump over that shark because I've worked with PR people before in sports leagues before. I see how it works, It's just, that's the name of the game. So just keep that in mind. If any of you are caring to listen, like just when you engage on Twitter with Bears accounts, just take an extra second to see who might be paying them.
Well, I'll be home for the next 2 months, so maybe it's going to pop up now.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, look for like Kalshi, Polymarket, Sleeper, stuff like that.
Huh.
You'll find that. That's what I've noticed.
Poly Market. Maybe I should DM them. Hey, I'll post whatever you
Oh,
want.
especially like Kalshi and Polymarket, they've been on a tear lately getting people partnerships. Like this has happened
Oh,
within the last 2 months. So,
I mean, you want to pay me $1,000 a post? I'm all for it. Let's go.
hey, come on. Might as well get that cheddar and see how long it goes. You know.
Yeah, like you said, I can't. I'm not mad. I don't hate the player, hate the game type of thing. Like I hate the game.
Oh, I can't. And that if I would be disingenuous if we didn't bring that up.
Oh
Just
man, I didn't know that.
it recontextualized how I view when we talk football on there, how some things get talked about, and I go,
Right,
okay, I see what's going on
right.
here now.
Like you'd be shocked. Like I don't see any CHGO posts. Nothing. Like, I don't even know. I didn't know they were around. And so I haven't opened this computer since probably September.
How are you with social on mobile? Do you just not? I mean, do you just not have time? I take it, or don't do it, or
No, I look, but it's not popping up anymore. And maybe it's because I'm
uh,
not. Maybe it's because I'm.
well, and I know we're making this more like an algorithm discussion, but if we're talking that, it's interesting because like the X algorithm is very sensitive. If you talk to like one or two certain accounts, it'll start like really highlighting those, and then it'll bury ones you haven't talked to in a while. So like CHGO, say if you haven't talked with them in a minute or haven't like applied to their stuff, they'll be like, "Oh, you're not interested anymore? No more CHGO stuff." They just KO that account
Yeah,
from
because
your
now that you're
feed.
bringing that up, I haven't seen. Uh, who do we like from there? Greg.
Yeah, I've seen some Greg. I do see enough Greg Bragg stuff, but yeah, it's not other guys I haven't been getting as much. Hogan Johns, I haven't gotten much from them. Um, Same for Carm. I don't see much Carm posts on
Yeah,
my
I,
feed.
I don't see any of them at all.
hmm And,
Um,
I was kind of engaging with CHGO at the beginning of the year, but like I've kind of slowly stopped, and they've just disappeared too from my feed in recent months, or like the last month or so.
yeah, no, nope. Because normally I come on here and have something to say, and something stupid that they've said, and I
Well,
just
see how your habits online are affecting how the algorithm reads your interests.
I've also noticed though my algorithm is different on my phone and computer. If that make
Really,
like
that's
like
now
right now,
that's fascinating.
yeah, like I'm looking at my computer right now, and there's things popping up that I have not looked at all, but on my
hmm
phone they wouldn't pop up on the app.
That is fascinating. Yeah.
Now there's a lot of similar things, but there's things on here I'm like, oh, I haven't seen that in a long time, or whatever, and I don't know. I don't. Musk, Musk, Fisk, please fix it. Please
Elon, what are
fix
you
it.
doing, man? Yeah, well, hey, until any of those other Twitter clones actually get better at doing sports, there's only even with like the paid partnership accounts to worry about now. It's like it's still the best place to go and watch sports content or even keep up with sports news. I'm sorry. So
Oh yeah, that's why I use it.
like that's why I'm not like I have my brother who messaged me. He's like, this algorithm change is happening. Like, yeah, well, Blue Sky and Threads still kind of suck to follow sports on, so I just can't leave. Still
Right,
not leaving yet, you know.
right, right.
But what do I know? While we're here, and I know it's been a minute, and it's not like we're. I feel like weekly isn't even going to be a thing at this point. If we get together, we get together. Um, Thoughts on the Giants? I mean, we kind of talked a little bit. Is this a win? Do we both think this is just going to be a win, and we coast on and worry about Minnesota the week after, like we're talking?
I think it's gonna be a win, but I don't think it's gonna be one of those like, "Oh my god, you blew out the Giants." Because the
Mm,
Giants this year are kinda playing like, "Screw it," and kind of like, "We have nothing to lose." And I'm not saying they're this really, really good team by any stretch, um, but they kind of want to be overlooked, if that makes sense. They kind of want you to look at your next opponent, right?
Yep.
And they're like, yeah, overlook us and see what happens. Because I think Dart is a good quarterback. He was
Oh,
good at Ole Miss.
I like his potential, man. Funny thing, and this will play right into that with Dart. There's some great in analytical data that came up this week that about like QBs with the best skill at avoiding sacks this season. Uh, Dart and Williams are sixth and fifth respectively in
Mhm.
that category this year, which is a huge improvement for Williams, by the way. But Dart is extremely elusive. It's what makes him so hard to what makes him so, I think, exciting as a quarterback is he is really good at creating on the go.
Right. But they are a little different without Scatterborough in there.
Yep.
I don't think they have they're kind of taking the Bears approach from a couple years ago of they don't quite have all the weapons they need on offense. They don't, they're missing pieces on their defense.
Mm-hmm.
I think they need better coaching. I think they need to get a different coaching staff to take them to the next level. So this isn't going to be if the Bears come in and they think it's a cakewalk, they're going to be woken up very quickly. But if the Bears regroup and say, we should have done this to the Bengals, let's do it to the Giants,
Mm-hmm.
then it'll be fine. I think it's a win. Um,
Yeah.
they've
Yeah.
they've had a tough schedule too. I mean, they've played the Commanders, they've played the Chargers, Eagles twice. But they did beat the Eagles the first time they
Did
played them.
beat the Eagles. It was a healthier team then, but they did beat the
Right.
Eagles. You know.
49ers they lose to by 10. So it's not going to be one of those where you beat them 40 something to 7, but they have to come ready to play. If they overlook this team, they're going to have a rude awakening. Especially if the Giants and Dart are playing like screw, we got nothing to lose type of ball. Yeah, but it should be a win because the Bears' offensive weapons, I think, are going to be too much. It's just can the Bears' defense not let Dart make these plays with weapons that are less than what the Bears have.
Correct. Quite frankly, I think I have more questions about how New York is going to generate offense. They've been adjusting. I know like Tez Johnson at tight end, he's been really solid for them in recent weeks. Has been started to become a regular target for Dart, so I'd be keeping an eye on him. It's interesting because like defensively, these two are kind of in a similar boat. They're not really impressive defensive units, Chicago or New York. Whether it's Chicago being banged up or New York, also kind of just trying to figure things out. But I would say with the Giants, I think your biggest worry if you're the Bears is unlike Cincinnati, pressure will get reintroduced again as a factor on trying to move the ball and kind of avoid any bad drives.
Right,
Again,
right.
I think it's not, again, we go back, it's not been talked enough about how depleted that Bengals defense was going into last week. And it showed on field. They had no real chance of getting to Caleb Williams on a consistent basis. New York does have people in that defensive front seven that can cause havoc. So this is where you got to be like, okay, we can't let their front seven dictate what we do. Now, credit, New York has not been a great rushing defensive team, so that's also a good sign. You want to keep on pounding the rock, by all means, please do. I would prefer it if you do. So really the strategy is, to me, pound the rock, do similar to what you've been doing the last few weeks with focusing on run first, pass second, and really just keep everything in front of you with Jackson Dart. I think it's that simple. There's not crazy weapons that can affect you outside of him for New York. Just don't let him have a way of beating you where he just makes you miss or finds ways to beat you with his feet and keeping plays alive. He's still a young QB. You should be able to take advantage of it. Dennis Allen, for all banged up and got off of this defense, has been. They're 29th in the league, by the way. We're basically at Mark Trestman levels of like flipping the paradigm of what the Bears are, from like that, from that 2013 season.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's this is a beatable team. Just keep everything in front of you. Keep on focusing on what you've been doing well on offense, and you should walk away from a home win 6-3, refocusing on going to Minnesota the next week.
And it
So
should be a perfect game for Caleb to take some shots. You know what I
sure.
mean? Like, finally, they shouldn't get to Williams with what they have, and just trust the pocket. And
I mean, this is the same defense that we watched that thrower with Dallas earlier this year. They are very porous in the
yes,
secondary.
so it's
There are
one of those.
opportunities.
It's a time where if you get the run game going, that you can play action and actually take these shots and get more going too. Like in the
Oh
deep,
yeah.
like he's been like an all team player. He's going to run the ball. He's going to block. He's going to go run his routes. He's been that type of guy this year. I haven't heard much complaining from him either. I think he's in the stage of his career where he's like, I have to win, right? That's kind of where he is.
Sure. I mean, here's the thing, you're getting paid well either way. Now just to focus on your enjoyment, I guess, and what you can achieve or add on. Because I mean, one way or another, you're with the Bears until the market or they say otherwise, which, I don't think Chicago will want to send move on from him at this point unless
Right.
they,
Right.
like the trade deadline's come and gone. So now it's about, okay, let's just keep on building with them. Clearly we have a really good receiver. Let's get him opportunities, to where we can even help Rome, who's now the number one on this team. So,
Right. Yeah, no, it should be a win, should be 6-3 going into your tough part of your schedule, and just building that confidence up of what they're doing. And don't take them lightly. Ben Johnson's not going to go out there and try to do things that let's just try this and see if it works. It's going to be keep building on what they're doing and build that confidence up and just come out of it healthy. Caleb Williams, the only thing we want to see is him taking some shots. And the defense just make sure that Dart doesn't get outside the pocket and run. So just tackle him, just do whatever, and just understand that they're going to come after you because they got nothing to lose. So those are the most dangerous teams where their motivation is let's ruin what another team has going on. That's the motivation.
And keep in mind too, like I also, they made a few moves recently. They got Gardner Johnson as well, kind of alleviate some of the pressure in the secondary. A week ago, they made a move for that guy out of Cleveland to help with getting pass rush, which they've been needing more and more to develop. This is still a defense I have a lot of questions about. Injuries are a lot of it, but they need to start building a repertoire and kind of finding what works, because again, it's only going to get tougher from here. And if you can't hold your end of the bargain against really much better units that can get opportunistic on you in the pass game or even find running lanes, which honestly, the Bears can have, outside of like last week, teams have been able to do really whatever they want as long as they don't turn the ball over. So, you need to start finding something that gels well with this core that's healthy, because I don't think this team's built for shootouts. I don't want to see this team getting into shootouts. And while I don't think like Minnesota will, Pittsburgh's only gotten better as the year's gone on. Aaron Rodgers has been stable, even in his age 41 year. Like I'm just thinking down the road,
Right.
So just that's what you need to focus on. This is a good tune-up game, win the game, find what works, work on your live reps, and then move on to Minnesota and focus on building on your division matchups for the second half of the season.
Yep. So should come out of it 6-3, and then start looking towards what kind of team you really are, Ben Johnson. What do you really have going on? And see if you can't get to Aaron Rodgers and company in a couple of weeks to see if you can't do anything. That'll be fun. Seeing Aaron Rodgers.
It'd be a little sweet if they did beat Pittsburgh for just beating Aaron Rodgers, given that Aaron Rodgers, still has an insane record against Chicago and still went on top against Chicago before he left Green Bay. So, something to think about.
Well, I think that about does it. Podcast is back slowly but surely. I don't know who Shirley is, but it is back slowly. So bear down. Hopefully we'll be doing more of these. It's my schedule that does it, so we'll see what happens. Be on the lookout for other stuff coming down the pipe as well. But
Oh, yeah.
again, it depends on life. Depends on what life does.
Life comes first for us. That's for damn sure. Especially you. You got a lot more going on than I do. So
I may just have to hold him if he's asleep to do one and be like, "Oh, here he is."
special guest on Bear Down.
You'll hear him cooing and calling, like, "Woo, what was that?" 'Cause he just discovered his feet. So when he stares at his feet, he's just like,
Wow.
and his hands, he'll do this.
He's gonna bop himself.
Oh, he punches himself in the face. He moves and he goes, and he just looks at it like it's that stuff's fun. You just see him do that, and you're like, "Oh, that's hilarious."
Nice.
Well, thanks everybody for watching or listening. Be on the lookout. This is another episode of Bear Down. We'll see you guys next time.